Greetings to all and also extend a warm welcome as we commemorate this day which we call the National Press Day. A day dedicated to celebrating the vital role of the press, not only in India, I believe it's all over the world. So this year, I think our theme is an apt reminder of a rapidly evolving media landscape in which we are operating. The digital revolution vis-a-vis instant news has reshaped our profession in ways and means we have never imagined, or we would have never imagined. And with that in context, we are here today to discuss the challenges and opportunities that present and to reaffirm our commitment to the profession. I am particularly excited and delighted to welcome Mr. K. Thamjan Jamir, who is the publisher and editor of the Our Vernacular Dear Yum, as our theme speaker. He is an entrepreneur, an activist, and also a media person. And he brings a wealth of experience and knowledge and insight, which I think we'll be hearing today and take back home and to our workplaces to think about and consider. I also welcome the Public Relations Officer of Dimapur, Stephen Muli, and also the publisher and editor of the Murung Express, who happens to be my boss, Dr. Akab Longchari. Let's make this day to renew our dedication to our job, our profession. Thank you for joining us, and I trust you will find today's program both engaging and enriching. Let the proceedings begin. I'll keep it short. Thank you all. Welcome all once again.
As we come together to celebrate this National Press Day. 58 years ago, it was the day when Press Council of India, as a statutory body, was established and it started functioning not only as a moral watchdog, but also as a legal guardian for all of us, to ensure that not only did the press maintain the high standards expected from this powerful medium, but also not fettered by the influence or threats of any power on earth. Most appropriately, this year, the Press Council of India has chosen today's theme as changing nature of press. It's very appropriate into this context. This theme is appropriate for obvious reason that actions have changed to manage the first quarter of the 21st century, particularly with changing nature of press and reaching out the audience by technological advancement in the field of mass communication. It made me understand that today's theme wants to take us to the genesis of press, so that we may understand and visualize how difficult and laborious it was to bring news, and equally how it was dangerous to spread news and share ideas and information in early days of the press. The word press must have come to use from printing press, as only medium of mass communication was newspaper, printed and printing press, and the beginning of news dissemination for public. However, today, we, the press, are also identified as media, which is very common and sometimes confusing, as owners of printing press also found to be identified themselves as press. Nevertheless, the word media is also a plural form of medium. In short, media means mass communication. It proudly describes all channels of communication, including everything from printed paper to digital. So whether it is a press or media, both carry the same meaning and same task of responsibility as an agent of mass communication. It is indeed a social communication tool to share information and ideas among its community members for their benefits. It is also the same door to collectively identify social needs, problems, and its solutions. It is a medium of education for human lives. Press also can play a role of mediator to listen to each side without partiality and present each position without bias so as to bring conflicting parties to a meeting point to settle the issue peacefully. So press and media can be used as a medium not only for reporting, but even in peacemaking initiative. Positively speaking, media can certainly be described as the intellectual backbone of any nation. It is the most prominent platform for sharing public opinion. In fact, history bears witness to the fact that a robust means of mass communication can change the face of any nation. Modern media that was only known as the press has its own origin that directly linked to a mutual impetus to Christian outreach ministry with the invention of printing press by Gutenberg in 1450 AD, which led to the first mass printing of 180 copies of the Bible in 1455 AD. During this period, Bible and other Christian books, tracts and periodical were instrumental in disseminating the good news of Christianity into coastal cities. At the turn of the 21st century, Time magazine named the inventor of that printing press, Johann Gutenberg, as the most important person of the past 500 years because of his invention, the printing press. Vastly accelerated the multiplications of knowledge throughout the world. It was Gutenberg's invention that gave impetus to flourish print media, which became a powerful agent of change in the world over. In the modern world of the 21st century, the changing nature of press brought many faces. Among those new faces, most prominent one is electronic social media that is available on the smartphone. It brought the entire world to our palm and made us connected. It becomes one of our basic needs now. Without being connected through social media, one is kept himself or herself isolated from the society and made lonely and bankrupt of information. As the social media not only keeps people connected with their relatives and friends, but also keep them updated and make aware of events and happenings across the world. However, the modern social media made us to confront with a number of new challenges. That is indeed a cause of serious concern for all of us today. One vital issue that concerns is alarming fake news that misinform public and allow to mislead even responsible people like us. That calls our serious attention and need to be always remain guarded. As we discuss about the changing nature of press today, it is pertinent for us that we are also mindful about potential dangers and disadvantages of using the doors of new media so that changing of nature of press does not adversely affect our integrity and commitment to the cause we truly hold and work fearlessly and tirelessly. As we look at the advantageous side of the changing nature of press, we see a number of good areas of communication that benefit us. Amongst them, after all, it's about mass communication. The benefit of connectivity comes first. It can link with countless users anytime, everywhere. Information could be transmitted globally through electronics media, and making it simple and affordable to enable people to interact with one another. It results in global relationships, friendship, so every user of social media thus becomes world citizen. In that sense, we are proud to say that we are one of the many stakeholders that makes it happen every day. The sole purpose of media, be it print or electronics, be it traditional form of media or new media in modern world, is to reach out with a message. The only difference is the degree of vastness of time and vastness of area of coverage. Indeed, nature of press is changed, but not the purpose of press. That makes our calling more loud and serious. Not long ago in our time, the last quarter of 20th century, we were using manual typewriter in our newsroom. It was laborious exercise and extremely difficult to edit and make correction. We have never heard of using computer with keyboard. However, if we compare our time of using manual typewriter with those who wrote the manuscripts of all in New Testaments, the Bible, and the ancient scroll, where we see vast improvement. And only then we realize that our jobs was much easier than that. Certainly, the greatest advancement in technological innovation of the present era is the invention of the computer and its multiple application system. The creation of global internet and subsequent invention of mobile devices, especially smartphones, makes the entire world a global village. These incredible inventions, the hallmark of the digital age, are changing the world on every level and linking us together for good or for worse, as if the whole world is just a single place where we live together. We have entered the digital communication culture, and not only the press, but many of the traditional communication culture and system are also found changing. Today, there are about 4 billion mobile users in the world out of 8.2 billion world population. There are more mobile use in Africa than the United States. Even in Nagaland, it's my random assessment, we may have about 10 lakhs mobile phone users out of 19 lakhs population. Unlike a computer, mobile phone can carry with us always conveniently, and now carrying mobile becomes not only necessary, but our lifestyle. As we live in this new world of digital communication culture, smartphone becomes more useful than desktop personal computers and laptops. It is not meant only to talk and communicate between two people, but the devices offer a wide range of functions and services far beyond phone calls and messages. That's not the end. As far as the technology and media-related progressive development is concerned, as we are completing the first quarter of the 21st century, another amazing invention that is emerging is artificial intelligence. The year 2023 is being marked as the beginning of artificial intelligence era, with major major companies like OpenAI, Microsoft, and Google launching various artificial intelligence tools in an effort to lead the field today. AI tools such as ChatGPT have the capacity to write books, speech, compose songs, code programs, and make plans for humans. Believe it or not, artificial intelligence has become indispensable in our lives. Government and enterprises, for that matter, even in newsroom and news reporting, that fails to integrate AI into the system will be left behind. We have already witnessed AI replacing numerous jobs, and it will continue in almost all the sectors of human activities. Imagine using artificial intelligence to edit news, cross-check reporting, and editorial discussion. Now with this computer software AI technology, human languages also can be translated in months, not years. We live in the first period of history when every single person on earth can be reached with latest news of daily happening in and around the world. This is the best generation of generations that we are experiencing, living, and working today. In the midst of present day's media explosion, it depends on us, the users, whether we use these media platforms to our benefit or we let new media and artificial intelligence use us and make our life artificial, counterfeit, and unproductive. We may not fully aware, but this technological explosion impacts us daily. We cannot escape from it, rather it became a part of this digital community today. A new culture of communication brought by this digital age is online service, be it news services, commercial, religious, social, or even political issue. There is no more excuses for all of us in this world of new media for being unable to reach out. Modern communication technology that keeps on changing the nature of press makes the tasks of media person, very fortunately, very conveniently, more easier, faster, and wider, but becomes more challenging as we are responsible for quality. We are responsible for quality and reliability of our own reports. As we endeavor to know more about fast-changing nature of media, what actually we ought to communicate or deliver to people as media persons, it must be our committed moral and social responsibility to let people know their rights and their duties, and the most importantly, keep them informed and updated so that they are not misled. They are not misled, neither deprived. We have tools to communicate and platform to share not only information but even our thoughts and ideas with others worldwide. Let us always understand ourselves that we are powerful people. We are powerful people. We can make mightily corrupt fall and humble rise. Who can change the people's mindset from self-interest to common interest, individualism to collectivism, territorial to democratic, bad governance to good governance, kleptocracy to ethical government, kleptocracy to fair democracy, and capistocracy to efficient government. In fact, as we discussed about the influence of media, through changing nature of press in our society vis-a-vis our working system. Despite the worldwide emergence of new media, the effect of old and traditional media can never be underestimated. Even in this 21st century, radio continues to dominate as a medium of transmitting and giving news and information billions of people who will never read kanji and a web browser, send SMS, WhatsApp, tweet, and read an email. This demographic maturity will be with us for some time. And the most effective way to reach them is through radio. In continent like Africa, where 1 in 160 people have internet access, 1 in 130 people have a computer, and 1 in 35 people have a telephone, but 1 in 3% have a radio. Even in our case, radio is still effective way of communication and sharing education information in far-flung rural areas. Radio also found to be more convenient even for digital savvy people while driving and traveling. Friends, for our generation, in 1980s, you may not have experienced this. But for us in 1980s, watching black and white television first time in our life was one of the wonders. And reading weekly newspaper in Nagaland, like Nagaland Times in Urami, were great things and privilege to be counted in society. Today it is said that there are 1.4 billion television sets in the world that allow nearly 5 billion access to news, information, and entertainment. In the meantime, we must know that not only 21st century methods of press and media communication are high-tech. Even at this time of social media in digital era, still traditional media and oral methods are found most effective to reach many remaining hidden people all over the world. Still, two-thirds of people worldwide are oral learners. They prefer to learn through verbs, music, poetry, and especially stories in traditional mode of conversation. As we celebrate our National Press Day today, and the theme, Changing Nature of Press, as media persons, all of us, in this era of fast-changing nature of press, we must think seriously how we are delivering our reports in terms of fastness, relevancy, accuracy, and reliability. We must also change our own mindset of dependency and make ourselves more proactive and trying to bring about a positive change in our people's lives by identifying their problems, needs, and also suggest solutions. I hope as we are thinking deeply about changing nature of press today, it shall also help us to change ourselves into more creative, smart, adaptable, reliable, and efficient media men and women as most powerful agents of positive change in our land. Happy National Press Day, friends. God bless. Thank you.
To me, I think it is more than the changing nature. On the surface, it's more than the changing form of the press. But in essence, I think the principles, the foundation of a free press remains the same. It has been constant. It has been a tool to empower, a voice of the voiceless. It has been a medium of holding accountability. It has been a medium for transformation. And I believe even here as we meet in the 21st century, the foundations of a free press are constant. And in fact, we must find ways how to strengthen that. But yes, no doubt the forms have changed.
and I think Simjan has already elaborated in terms of the changing forms of the media. But I think the challenge is how do we actually apply these principles within these changing forms. One of the emerging trends that we see is that the gap between fact and feelings is going further apart. Fact, feelings. The fact of what happened on the ground and the feelings of the people. The gap between the fact and the feelings seem to be moving further and further apart. And most of you here, you are the first documenters of history, right? As journalists, as field reporters. You are the ones who are writing the first draft of history. Is your draft based on feelings or is it based on fact? That's a question I want to ask you. And it seems to me the mainstream media is moving more towards feelings because feelings is what sells. Feelings is what attracts viewers and readers. Because sometimes the fact is very boring, very mundane. But it is so important as journalists, as field reporters, not to focus on the feelings, but to focus primarily on the fact. And that's why Chandan was talking about being impartial. But this is perhaps the greatest challenge of our times. Because the gap between fact and feelings is moving further apart. And when it moves further apart, then we are building a society that is not founded on the foundations of fact and truth, but on feelings. And once it is based on feelings, then our policies, our analysis, our understanding, then is driven by emotions and not based on the fact. And so as people that are working as the first responders, let me put it that way, as the first documenters of history, I urge all of us to reflect on this pertinent challenge of our times. We need to be based on fact and not on feelings. Now, when I say that, it's not to dismiss feelings. Feelings are important. All of us feel. And sometimes our feelings, are stronger than our understanding of the fact. It's not to dismiss it. And yet it is so critical that we are building a society based on fact and not just feelings. We now live in a world of images. People's understanding, perception, worldviews are shaped by images. And when I say image, I'm not talking about, the public image, okay? But the image that we are processing through our minds and through what we see. And I'll come to that a little later. As we are, and like I said, I have these random thoughts. Is it possible, while grappling with fact and feelings and the changing forms of the media, is it possible for us to develop our own another understanding of what journalism and media means? And I think it becomes so pertinent in a globalized world that we need to develop another understanding of what the media is and on what its founding values and principles would be. Today, when we look at across all platforms, traditional media and the new media, and we look at the spectrum of news that we have, it goes right from in-depth stories to press releases and even stories from colonies and some social group going for a picnic. That is how vast the idea of news has become in another context. Sometimes when you look at it, there's an irony to it, right? That we move this so vast spectrum of news. Very early on, I used to say, I think we are more of a village diary than actually a newspaper. Because the papers, and of course today more so, the digital platform is not confined to news anymore. It's about opinions. It's about feelings at both the micro and the macro level. And somewhere along that, the actual news is getting lost. So within this changing form and nature of the media, I think it becomes so important for us to think and to visualize and to imagine what a Nala media would really look like. And so I would like to look at this as an emerging process. And I would encourage you, here we have an intergenerational group of people. We have individuals who have been working for a very long time. We have some newer ones, some not too young, not too old. I think that dialogue must continue. But to do that, we have to strengthen the media fraternity. Today is the press day. It's also a day to remember those who have come before us. It's also a day to celebrate the work that each one of you has done, to celebrate the media fraternity. It's also the day to remember those who have passed on, who are no longer here with us today. But most importantly, it's also a day to reflect, to engage in some form of self-criticism. Because if we are to understand the changing form and changing nature of the media, of the press, we need to also engage in some honest self-criticism. And so just a couple of random thoughts that come to my mind. We talk about press as being a freedom, but we also talk of press as being a responsibility. We also look at press as a form of power that gives voice to the voiceless, that holds the power to account. But we also recognize its limitations by law. And sometimes not just by law, but by the culture in which we live, depending on how we are grappling with the questions of fact and feelings. I would like to imagine that there are many more members of the press fraternity here in Dimapur. So sometimes it is discouraging to see. Of course, we have a good number here, but you get what I'm saying. It's just a fraction of who we are. And so how do we empower each other? How do we inspire each other? How do we look at the traditional media in the form of newspapers, predominantly in the Nala context, and the digital platform as media platforms that are complementary to each other? For traditional media, the idea of breaking news does not, for newspapers now, the idea of breaking news does not exist anymore, right? Now that is something that the digital media, the responsibility has fallen on them. But it becomes so much more important for the newspapers to reinvent themselves, to do what the digital media cannot do, which is to verify truth, verify facts, which is to have more in-depth stories. The forte is different of newspapers. The strength is different for newspapers. The strength of the digital platform is different. But we are all part of the same ecosystem. And so we must learn how to coexist together. We must learn how to complement each other. I think in Nagaland, we're still some distance away from that. And it is during days like that that we actually get an opportunity to share our experiences and to come together. After all, whether it is the print or whether it is the digital, we are part of the fourth pillar of democracy. And so within this changing form and changing nature of the press, we as the fourth pillar of democracy remains unchanged. And so we go back to that primary principle. But we live in a world of images, and so the credibility of the media becomes so important. If we want the public of the Naga society, if we want the public of Nagaland, if we want the public of this region to invest in the media as an institution of public service, you and I need to change. You and I need to change. The image that we present to the world around us needs to undergo some radical transformation. For instance, we need to be on time for reporting. Often we hear comments, reporters are the last one to come and they're the first one to leave. So what does it do to our credibility as reporters and as members of the media? The elephant in the room, and it has been on for quite some time, is this whole idea that people actually pay to be on the news. The PCI calls it paid news. But I think now in the now context, especially in the last few years, this is becoming an issue where people actually have to pay to be on the news. I know that as far as newspapers are concerned, every media organization has and continues to take steps in that. But it's in the new media that we need to address this as well. And remember, we are all part of the same ecosystem. It is difficult to talk about the voice out against a culture of corruption if the media is also taking resources to cover events. Isn't that a contradiction? And if that is a contradiction, where is our integrity? And where is our integrity? And if that is how the public perceives us, then can we claim that we are working towards being the fourth pillar of democracy? There cannot be a contradiction between the values and ideals that we stand for and how we as individuals are exercising as reporters, as media, as sub-editors, editors, how we are exercising that freedom of that press. There cannot be a contradiction. I'm telling you, if we continue this way, the people, the public will laugh at us because we'll become a laughing stock. It's the elephant in the room. Some of you may not feel comfortable hearing this, but it's the elephant in the room that has become part of the kitchen talk. And so, as reporters, as editors, sub-editors, we must also hold our publishers accountable, our editors accountable, to see and to ensure that the practice of every media organization is also consistent with the freedom and responsibilities of a free press. And actually that power is in your hands. And so I feel, perhaps the Nagaland Press Association has to be revived to be able to talk things like this. Because we don't have a body that allows us to come and talk about the challenges and opportunities that Incom was talking about. We have different clubs. They may be various other bodies, but Nagaland Press Association, which was actually formed, and here we have Kunjan as the founding president, to enable editors, journalists, non-working journalists to interact and to contribute towards creating that ecosystem. So we need to recover something like the Nagaland Press Association to enable us to talk about the difficult issues that we're faced with. Some of these issues are ideological in terms of fact and feelings. Some of them are structural in terms of paid news. Some of them are functional issues in terms of the discipline, how we carry ourselves as reporters. Because I assure you, in every event that you go, you are identifiable. Some of you have your camera. You are noticeable, right? People, some of you are known by face, are known by name. People are watching you. And your reputation, your integrity is defined by that. You may write wonderful stories, but if your work discipline is missing, it takes away some of that impact. I don't mean to be preachy here, but it's a matter of fact. So changing forms and nature of the press is something that we're living right now. It's something that we're living right in this moment. I feel that in the future of the media is going to become even more important in the Nara context, because we are caught between facts and feelings. Whether you will have the courage to report based on the fact, or whether you will take the easy route of reporting the feelings, history will be the judge. Not your editors, not your publishers. You will be history. You will be the people who will hold you to account. Just as much as we hold the powers that be to account, we are also accountable to the people, because the media is an institution of public service. And so, friends, on this day, let us reflect together. Let us understand together. And perhaps this is just the beginning of a lengthy process that we must engage in. There are many elephants in the room that we must confront. There are many elephants in the room that we must engage with. Some of the elephants the publishers will have to take into account and address. Some of the elephants in the room is the journalists, is the sub-editors, is the non-working journalists who will have to confront it. So with those few random thoughts, thank you so much.